Hello Summoner! In our previous video we told you about hard crowd control in League of Legends. In this section we'll talk about root, snares, grounding, stasis and several types of so-called soft crowd control. Root and snares are commonly thought of as hard CC because they lock the champion in place, but they still let the champion use spells or auto attacks. What they cannot use are the jumps, dashes and other mobility spells like flash or teleport. The duration of roots and snares can be lowered with the use of tenacity. Cleansing the root is similar to stun and taunt. Root can only cancel certain spells casting, like Shen's ultimate, teleport summoner spell, or Zack's and Vi's jump and dash. There are plenty of champions with roots built into their kits, like Morgana, Ryze, Caitlyn and Varus, being the most popular ones in the current meta. Ground is hard crowd control. A unit that is grounded is unable to activate mobility spells, that is all dash and blink abilities. It cancels every kind of mobility spells, including Shen and Fiddlestick's ultimates, Zack and Vi's jump and dash, teleport summoner spell, and even silences Darius's ult, since he jumps in place when he strikes. Since ground is an AoE crowd control, tenacity doesn't help against it until you leave the area of effect. Cleansing this type of control is also impossible since it constantly refreshes itself while the champion is in the area. But Olaf's ultimate gives him a full resistance against it because of complete crowd control immunity he gets. There are just two champions with this type of control, Cassiopeia and Singed. There is one type of hard crowd control which casters use as much on themselves as they use it against the enemies, stasis. A unit that is in stasis is unable to control movements, declare attacks, cast abilities, activate items or use any summoner spell for the duration, while also being invulnerable and untargetable. The duration of stasis cannot be reduced, it cancels any spell casting and prohibits the use of summoner spells, but it can be resisted against using Olaf's ultimate, Black Shield, Riposte and Void Shift. It cannot be cleansed in any way. The only champion that can apply the stasis against the enemy units is Bard. The last type of hard crowd control is sleep. Only one champion in the game can use it, and it's Zoe. A unit that is asleep is unable to control its movements, declare attacks, cast abilities, activate items or use the summoner spells flash and teleport for the duration as with stun. The duration is substantially longer than other crowd control effects, but will be interrupted if the target takes damage. Cleansing the sleep is as easy as it is to cleanse stuns or taunts, and tenacity reduces its duration. With all that covered, let's move to the second category of crowd control, soft CC. It's the type of control that impairs the champion's movement or other basic abilities, but partially. Soft crowd control consists of slow, blind, cripple, silence and nearsight. Let's begin with the most common one, slow. A unit that is slowed has reduced movement speed for the duration. Slows cannot reduce a target below 110 movement speed. Slow doesn't interrupt any abilities. The duration is reduced by tenacity, which stacks multiplicatively. The strength is reduced by slow resist, which stacks additively. You can resist the slow completely using Highlander, Black Shield, Ragnarok, Riposte and Void Shift. Cleansing the slow is similar to other kinds of crowd control, including Cleanse Summoner Spell, QSS, Mikael's and a lot of different champion abilities. There are many champions with slowing abilities in their kits, but it can also be applied using items passive and actives, with a Blue Smite, Exhaust Summoner Spell and Glacial Augment Rune. Blind. A unit that is blinded will miss their basic attacks, similar to when attacking a target with dodge. Missed attacks will fail to deal damage or apply on-hit effects, with the exception of Volibear's Rolling Thunder and Hecarim's Devastating Charge. Unlike Disarm, Blind doesn't prevent the unit from declaring attacks. Blind causes Graves' shotgun to fire pellets with a random spread, excluding the direction of his target. Blind's duration can be reduced with tenacity. It can be cleansed using the same means as with any other crowd control type, like stun. Only one champion in the game can blind, and it's Teemo. That's part of the reason why everyone hates him so much. Sorry, Teemo. There is a similar type of crowd control to blind, and it is disarm. Unlike blind, it just disables your auto attacks instead of making them miss. It also cancels Lucian's ultimate and can be cleansed using Mikael's Crucible. There are a few champions with disarm, Irelia, Amumu with his ultimate and Lulu with her polymorph. Cripple. A unit that is crippled has reduced attack speed for the duration. The duration can be reduced with tenacity. Removed by Cleanse, Quicksilver Sash, Mikael's Crucible, Shadow Step as Shadow Assassin, Decisive Strike, Highlander, Battle Roar, Ragnarok, Remove Scurvy and Unbreakable Will. Champions which can reduce the attack speed are Fiora, Nunu, Nasus, and Malphite. There are also several items which reduce the opponent's attack speed: Frozen Heart, Randuin's Omen, Thornmail, and Warden's Mail. Silence. A unit that is silenced cannot cast abilities, activate items, or use the summoner spell's flash and teleport for the duration. Silence cancels out the spell casting, the duration can be reduced using Tenacity, and it can be cleansed using the same spells and items as you use with stuns. Champions which have silence in their kits are Cho'Gath, Blitzcrank, Fiddlesticks, Garen, Malzahar, and Soraka. Kassadin also has silence, but its duration is only 0.1 seconds, which is just enough to cancel a charged ability or spell. The last kind of soft crowd control worth noting is Nearsight. A unit that is nearsighted has their sight radius reduced by 900 and loses their allied vision, that is their ability to see what their allies see. The target is also unable to activate long-ranged abilities even if the target is visible, which appears to cover any ability that can be targeted using the map. For example, Stand United and Teleport. Nearsight interrupts Elastic Slingshot but no other abilities. It also interrupts attack commands versus a target that is outside of the target's new vision area and prevents automated target acquisition. The duration of Nearsight cannot be lowered by Tenacity, and it can only be cleansed using QSS. There are no ways to resist this type of control. Champions with Nearsight in their kits are Graves, Nocturne, Quinn, and Tahm Kench with his Devour. And thus we have covered the basics of crowd control in League of Legends. There are a few rules and tips to using crowd control properly. Try not to use different kinds of control at once, and try to use them all consecutively. There is a special term for that, chain crowd control. Here is an example. You have Malzahar and Sejuani on your team, and both of them use their ultimate simultaneously. The target only gets 2.5 seconds of control and then just goes away. But if you use the Malzahar's ultimate first, and then, once the suppression is almost over, Sejuani applies her own stun, and then, once the stun is gone, Malzahar applies his silence, the chances to finish the target off are much higher. There is a debuff which increases the durations of crowd control called Brittle, and it can only be applied by Ornn. Try to aim your crowd control at the enemies with this debuff on them. There are also a few items in the game which can block the crowd control spells, Banshee's Veil and the Edge of Night. If you want to penetrate the protection they give, try to hit the affected enemy with a simple spell first, and only then aim your crowd control at them. And finally, a fun fact: Nautilus, Poppy, and Urgot have the most crowd control sources per champion in the game. All of them have 5 crowd control sources in their kits. So this is it, guys. Thanks for watching, use your crowd control properly, and as always, good luck in your solo queue.